Hi there, and welcome back to CKM Red Rugby League. It's Tuesday, the team lists are out. That can only mean it is time for round 12, the Indigenous round, and our preview. As ever, my ever reliable friend Luke Jobson is here to take me through all the team lists, give out our tips, predictions, and also preview the games. How are you going, mate?
Mate, I don't know if I'd call myself ever reliable after last week's betting performance, but we're going all right. We're going all right. All things considered, for those who are keeping track, I went 15 to 23. You, Matthew, 13 to 20. All right. We had a shocker last week. Oh, I'm good though, mate. How are you?
I'm surviving, Yeah, it is what it is. Some shock upsets last week. The Bulldogs getting up over the Knights. The Titans turning up against the Panthers. A lot of multis gone. So I thought so with your multis if they did not survive the weekend. But with that, then we will jump straight into our first game. It is the St. George Illawarra Dragons taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Both teams going through a little bit of a reshuffle. South's welcome back Latrell Mitchell, whereas the Dragons, who were without Adam Clune again, opt to put Ben Hunt back into the 7. Cam McInnes going back into 9. And then a bit of a change in the forwards as well as Sims comes in.
Yeah. It probably is one of the harder games to pick. The obvious choice for both of us is the Bunnies. Buoyed by the return of Latrell Mitchell, it means Cody Walker gets his running buddy out the back. They also get back Sirenen, I believe it is, back this week. That drops Jack Johns out to the reserves, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets another run. I thought he played really well for his debut. Yeah, it's the Dragons. We're not going to start about the Dragons. we know that they got screwed. It's screwed by 3 all. Curse the bunker. Sack the bunker. Mate, I nearly had the 3-3 Chelsea Dagger video ready and queued up for this, but nonetheless, I think that having Jackson Ford is great for hustle and bustle, but they lose a lot of mobility out of McInnes going back into the 9 in their forward pack. Tristan Saylor coming into the 17. It's great to see him get a game, don't get me wrong, but it's not who I would expect when you have the likes of Corbin Sims in the 21. I'm not sure on what I'm doing for tips, to be honest. I'm not really confident with anyone as far as anytime try scorer. The markets have got up like 2 minutes ago. So, Matt, I'll let you go through that. But in terms of a head-to-head, I'm going the Bunnies.
Yeah, so I'm back in the Bunnies as well. Even if you just look at things like the form guide, that and the Bunnies have won the last 2 meetings as well. The last one being 2016, the one before that being 34 points to 18 in their favour. I mean, it's tough. This one's incredibly tough to split. I mean, you even look at the points. The Dragons registering 208 points. The Bunnies registering 218. The Dragons conceding 222. And the Bunnies conceding 192. So it looks like even the stats call out that the Bunnies are gonna take this one, but this one looks like it's gonna be a fine margin. So I'd be tempted to look at things like South's 1 to 12, just on that one, because this one's not going to be a blowout. Souths are still a little shaky. They're still changing things in their back line and switching things up with Mitchell now going back in, Johnston going back to the wing, and trying to figure out what their best recipe at the back is. The forwards, they get Liam Knight back, good for a bit of bench depth. So good to see him back. As for the Dragons, they've got Pereira back on the wing. Saab loses his spot, which now means that on the kicking game, you've lost a little bit of your height there. But you saw it last week. Lomax brings the X factor every time he touches the ball. Expect him to really rip up on the edges. He'll be coming up against Campbell Graham and Jackson Paulo on that far side. So Yeah, I'd expect Lomax to bag a try here, just based on the run of form that he's on. But my biggest overall tip would be Souths 1-12.
Yeah, I'm with you on Souths 1-12. They pay $3, so some really good value there for me. If you want to play it safe, Bunnies are 154 on the head-to-head. I do like your logic about targeting Jackson Paulo. I think Graham's going to be more than capable of giving Lomax a pretty good challenge there up in the air. But every now and then he gets caught out defensively. So I like your theory, but I'm not going Lomax. I'm going to go Souths 1-12 and Michaeli Ravalawa, anytime try scorer. I think he'll barge over for a try. Assuming that his knee is all right, he was looking very ginger at the back end of last week. But Ravalawa, anytime try scorer at $2.20, it's hard to ignore that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he was carrying a few knocks. He was really in the wars last week. He wore a late shot in the ribs. He picked up a knee injury towards the back end of the game. Yeah, he'll probably be running on a fitness test. But yeah, he will. He's a tough bloke. He'll likely be there. So yeah, those are our tips. And with that, we will move into the next game. It is the Warriors taking on the Tigers. The Tigers are pretty much unchanged. A couple of changes to their forward pack, though, as Garner and Twal come in. Bloor also makes the 17 after his big performance last week and going up against Nathan Brown. The Warriors, though, very different story. Obviously, a few of their players have now gone home and they have to bring in reinforcements, and they have done in the form of Jennings and Alvaro from the Parramatta Eels, who do take up their place in the starting lineup. Herbert goes into the wing for Fosatua, Pompey moving into cover his centre spot. I mean, it's a tough ask for the Warriors at this point.
Yeah. Look, I will say 2 weeks ago I predicted that the last game that the Warriors had with those four around in the squad, they'd get up for it. Obviously, I was a week late on that tip, but boy, did they get up! Did they get up against the Roosters side? You didn't expect them to be leading at halftime. Yeah, look, I'm not going to speak for you. The Tigers, for me, an easy pick here. George Jennings is, I mean, you saw when he filled in, 2 weeks ago against Manly, I believe. He has a tendency to come up in defence and get really caught out of line. So an easy, now assuming that the numbers line up how they should, an easy anytime try scorer for me is David Nofaluma. I'm not going to give you any game insight here. It's just Tigers all the way for me. The Warriors, like you said, it's a tough ask for them. Their forward pack is strong. Don't get me wrong. I love their forward pack, but their back line outside of Roger just doesn't fill me with any confidence whatsoever. Definitely David Nofaluma as an anytime try scorer. Only paying $1.45 on Sportsbet. So not a ton of value there. Well, realistically, none at all. But a very likely candidate for one, if not two. I think if you do want to look at a little bit of value, I potentially could see someone like a Benji Marshall or a Josh Aloiai going over. As the game goes on, we saw the Warriors start to tire out a little bit throughout the middle. Aloiai, known for a cheeky dive into the guts, he's paying $6.50. Benji Marshall at $4.20. I think he can get a bag here. I'm going to go Aloiai for the value, paying at $6.50 on Sportsbet, and take into account this is $5.15 on Tuesday. So for those that are looking, odds probably will change, but that is screaming great, juicy value. I'm not going to suggest this one to everyone, but Luciano Leilua at $3.10, also a handy shout. Katoa, great in attack, has a defensive lapse every now and then, and if the Tigers do get on a roll, Leilua will benefit.
I'm going to look to the averages. So the average points scored for the Tigers is at 23. The Warriors 12 points scored. Average points conceded 18 points. Average points conceded for the Warriors 25. For me, I mean, even based on the previous form of these two sides, it's one team or the other by a fair whack. So I'm gonna go with the Tigers to win both halves. And if you're feeling optimistic, back the over as well, just because the Tigers have been in a good vein of form. The Warriors do tend to struggle defensively, which I know against the Roosters they really did turn up. But that was their last hurrah for me. That was let's do it big. There's boys going home. We kind of know it's downhill from here. So with that, I'd say Tigers to win both halves, as well as put it on and over 37.5. If they offer you that, because that'll come in for me.
Yeah, I having a look at the market. The Tigers 13 plus currently paying 172. I'm going to throw that in my suggestions as well. I think the Warriors are going to be on a bit of an emotional roller coaster. Here's that downhill as they've got two new loan players coming in. Hetherington's been great for them. The Alvaro coming in off the bench and Jennings on the wing means they have to readjust. They have to get the structure back in their back line. Tigers are going to pepper that right side or left side. Sorry, Nofaluma's wing. 13 plus at $1.72. Too good for me.
Yeah. Okay. And then we'll move on to the next one. It is the Broncos versus the Sharks. The Sharks had to do it tough last week. It was an absolute... Well, obviously there was the controversy, but it was a great game to watch. Probably the game of the round. The Broncos are once more doing it tough as they go through yet another iteration of their back line, as now Darius Boyd is your first choice fullback. Milford goes into 6. Dearden keeps the 7 jersey. But they do welcome back Jake Turpin in the 9, which it can only be a boost for them at this point. Any player that they do bring back at this point has to be just a blessing at this right now for them.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Corey Pay hasn't been playing awfully by any stretch, but you know, Turpin has the experience from last year. It's good to have him back for the Broncos. But they're coming up against a team and the Sharks that are in a rich vein of form right now and some scary point scoring form at that. I mean, we're pulling up the stats and insights powered by Sportsbet. No, not sponsored by Sportsbet for those asking. I just can't be bothered setting up another betting account. So these are the odds we get off. Obviously, they fluctuate. So there's your forewarning if you are here for the punt and not for our incredible insight. The Sharks have scored at least 24 points in the last 5 games. They've won 5 of their last 6. Every game has all the last 5 games have gone over 40, 50. I can't do math right now. At least 50 points in the last 5 games. It's very hard to not offer a tip on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to look at, and it's hard to go against the Sharks here. The Broncos are starting to get some people back. One could argue that, supposedly Haas is a little iffy. He was with the recovery group on Monday, but he looks good to go. The only change, I think, for the Sharks is Dugan in for Goodwin and Connor Tracy. Oh, sorry, there's more changes. I apparently am blinder than a bat looking at team sheets. There's a lot of changes, but the Sharks, with the exception of Connor Tracy at 7, basically back to full strength. William Kennedy's making that fullback spot his own. He's really starting to get that combination with Sean Johnson rolling. Their forwards are just too good against the Dragons. Again, the forward pack, honestly, I have in favour of the Broncos. I think the Broncos have a better forward pack here, but you just cannot go past the Sharks with their attacking form. And the fact that the Sharks are $1.54 on the head-to-head. Come on now.
It's so I mean, you look to the Sharks and their stats. This one screams blowout. I mean, the Sharks have scored 284 points, and the Broncos have conceded 337. All while the Broncos have scored 142 and the Sharks have conceded 248. It screams that the Sharks are not the best team defensively, but it also shows that they have the points to not even really be that bothered about the fact that this team not the best team defensively. So when you've scored that amount of points, you just know that you're going to get more tries. The Broncos, I can see, as daft as it sounds, I can see the Broncos doing what they usually do, which is hitting the score sheet first, and then the Sharks running away from it there. I mean, it's a reshuffle, as you mentioned. I do really like the fact that they've put in Tracy at 7, though, because I think a lot of coaches would make that rash decision of pulling Johnson out of the 6 jersey, putting him in the 7, and have him as the dominant ball player, which, as we've seen in the last few weeks, Johnson is enjoying having that free run and that running ability, and he's just carving up. He's back to Sean Johnson of old. So I'd be tempted to say Sharks to win both halves and Johnson on an anytime try scorer. I just think as those Broncos forwards start to tire through the middle, Johnson's got the footwork, he's got the ability, and he's got the confidence now. The confidence is the main part for me, where you saw it last week. He will take it at the line, almost teasing those bigger bodies, come out and get me, and then he'll either turn the ball up on the inside for one of their rampaging forwards, or he'll back himself through the line, and I expect Johnson will have a few attempts at backing himself through the line this week.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with your Sean Johnson pick. As you were saying it, I had written him down at 375 as anytime try scorer. Looking at the odds, again, 375 gives you the Sharks -4.5 with the over at 43.5. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. That's why I'm not going the margin on this one for some great value. But 375 gives you the Sharks for a converted try or more on the win, over 43.5. I don't really think I can argue that one, even with the Broncos games. You know, the lowest scoring game was 34 points in a soggy win against the Dogs. You've got 2 games of 42 points against New Zealand and the Gold Coast. The previous games have gone under. 4 of the last 5 have gone under. I will say that. So keep that in mind. But the current attacking form of the Sharks, it just screams over on the points. So -4.5 and 43.5 on the doubles market at 375 for me. I don't think you can get it any better on the same game multi. We'll have a quick look. But for Matty, both halves at 287. I think that's a good shout as well. I think you have every opportunity there of getting up on that. Over 43.5. Yeah, the doubles market pays better at 375. So if you can get on that early, I absolutely would on mine. We're both going Sharks. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to go through the tips for the rest of the week, we're going Roosters, Raiders, Panthers, Eels, Storm because, well, we all agree. So stay tuned if you want tips.
Yeah. And with that, then, we will move on to the next one. It is the Roosters versus the Titans, and I think there'd be a lot of people that'd be worried about touching the Roosters minus this week, based on the fact that the Titans turned up last week and really stunned the Panthers, and the Roosters were nearly knocked for 6 by the Warriors. So I think there'd be people looking at this one with a touch of caution, but you'd still be looking at the Roosters going, this is a win for them. I mean, the Titans are getting better. They do look a better side than they were probably pre-COVID. Their forward pack's really coming into its own, bolstered as well by the signings that they've made for next season. So, but for now, the Roosters, it's hard to look past them. I mean, you got Tupanua coming in for Boyd Cordner, who is missing with a head knock. He's been suffering from headaches after a concussion in training. Ryan Hall comes back in on the wing. Ikavalu moves out to the 5 as Brett Morris drops out of the side. There's just quality all over this Roosters side, and there's not going to be a lot of people overlooking it even so, I mean, I think when I was looking earlier, the Titans were $11 for this one, so worth $1, definitely.
I don't know if I'd be throwing the dollar. They've come into 10. I will confirm, Matthew. The Roosters,
Okay.
a huge outward shift, 103 to 105. So if people got on the money at $1.03, you just lost a chance to double that bet. Yeah, the Roosters ruined I don't know how many people's multis last week. It was abysmal that first half. You had them for both halves, I think, and that wasn't pretty to watch. The Roosters with mass changes, as you said, but even so, Tupanua, a gun, Ryan Hall, top try scorer in Super League history, I believe it was. I know you corrected me a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, top international try scorer at English level.
Got that twice. I've got it wrong twice. He's due. Surely he's due. It's hard to tip anyone or anything for the Titans. That being said, the Roosters do not fill me with confidence. After last week, you could tell that they were pretty bummed out with how they played. It is at the SCG. I will say that the Titans haven't played there in a hot minute, and it's meant to be kind of slick, which to an extent helps the Roosters because they'll have Tedesco screaming out the back. It'll be a beautiful English summer's day for Ryan Hall, so he should have hands like glue. I got the Tedesco play wrong last week. I'm not going to touch him this week, so watch him score a hat trick. Anytime try scorer, Ryan Hall, I'm going for it. I've got to go for it. $1.62. There is absolutely no value in that, but my gut is churning every time I say it. I've got to go him. I promise it's not the curry I had last night. I'm also going Mitch Orbison at 325. I think he's a sneaky chance going over from a short side play.
So I was going to say Ryan Hall try scorer as well. You stole my thunder here. So I'm going to go with Joey Manu, anytime try scorer on the other side. I mean, you look at the previous meetings, very hard to call. The Roosters won the last one, 58 points to 6. But then in 2018, when these two sides faced off, they only won that one 20 points to 12. You go down to the stats, and it looks pretty bleak for the Titans, to be honest. Roosters scoring 306, Titans scoring 142. Points conceded, 146 for the Roosters. Points conceded, 309 for the Titans. But this is the thing. There's honestly barely any value in backing against the Titans because even if your bet comes in, it's what, you're $1 or $2 up. And if it doesn't, then you're $10 down. So I'd be cautious on this one. But I'm not going to touch any of the unders overs. I'm just going to go Joey Manu, anytime try scorer, Roosters win. If you want to double it up just to make it, I don't know, an extra couple cents.
Eel here. I know that UK viewers can't do a same game multi, but just for just for craps and gigs. So if you go Manu at 225 and the Roosters for a same game multi, it stays at 225. Don't bother touching the Roosters. Just go Joey Manu.
Yeah. With that, then we'll move on to the next game. We are into the Cowboys versus the Raiders, and I am not making the mistake of backing the Cowboys again. I thought a coaching change would switch things up, but this week they come up against a really strong Raiders side. Even so, the Raiders having to go through a little bit of a reshuffle at the back. Rapana at fullback, Valamir switches sides. Curtis Scott comes back with Kotrick outside him. And then in the 11 shirt, John Bateman is named, which bumps Hudson Young up to the loose forward. And then reinforcements arrive in the form of Corey Harawira and Nara. The Cowboys, no real changes. It's they're going to struggle this week. It's a tough ask for them. McLean comes back in. The Cowboys are going to be doing it tough against this Raiders side. The Raiders now have got probably one of the more dominant forward packs in the entire comp right now. Sutton and Tarpanay on the bench with Harawira-Nara as well. Just the depth and impact that they're going to bring, the Cowboys are really going to struggle to stand up against it.
It's not pretty viewing for them. They do get Jordan McLean back after who knows how many weeks. It feels like it's been a year and a half since we've seen him play for North Queensland with his calf. But he comes back, pushes Molo to the bench, who's just signed a contract extension with the Cowboys. Esan Masters, who was dropped an hour before. They finally listened. They finally listened to us, Matthew. He's in the reserves alongside Asiata, Hampton, and Jakey Granville. As you mentioned, the Raiders are a plethora of changes. No Nickel Clockstad, one would imagine, for about a month with that compound dislocation. Ugh. Leaves a bad taste in your mouth just saying it. Valame stays on the wing, which, depending on who goes against, obviously if the numbers line up, he goes against Tailagi, but they could switch Kyle Felt over to that wing, which leads me to think that Felt's a good shot for any time try scorer, and paying at $2.25. Don't mind me. I'm just going to write that one down. I am going Raiders though. I just think that I don't know if they're going to blow the Cowboys out of the park up there at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. And I do question the addition of Curtis Scott at centre. But obviously with no Rapana, with Rapana at fullback, and no Nickel Clockstad, it makes it very hard for Ricky Stewart to get himself someone else that isn't 170 centimetres and 70 kilos in Smith Shields. I will say he played fantastically for his extended debut. John Bateman comes back and shores up that forward pack, not that it really needed much of it. Danamis Louis and Papali having some gun performances. Yeah, look, I'll let you run through your tips as I scour the updated markets. But, yeah, the immediate one standing out for me at home, Kyle Felt is a gun. And if you want a little bit of value, Josh Papali's not a bad shout for any time either.
Yeah, so interestingly, I'm looking over the stats. It's hard to believe that the Cowboys actually outscore the Raiders. So the Cowboys have scored 217 to the Raiders 206. But the points conceded is where it really falls down. The Cowboys conceding 299, Raiders conceding only 165. Although completing at similar rates of 77%. So it's going to be the Cowboys' defense that fails here, not their attack by the looks of it. So I'm going to say Kotrick anytime try scorer and the Raiders to score more than 20. That's going to be my go on that one.
It's an interesting one, that one. If we go have a look at our Canberra Raiders alternative points, over 20.5 at $1.55 isn't the worst value that I've seen. If you want to feel frisky, mate, I'll offer if I can find it, the race to 20 points. The Raiders at $1.65 as well.
Yeah.
Just add that one to yours as a cheeky one, because Lord knows I need all the help with tips this week. I am going to go Papali now that I think about it. I think that his second stint, he'll barge over from short range. McLean will tire out, as will Maguire. He's been playing 80 minutes recently and looks a little weary towards the back end. And Papali just has a tendency to barn his way over from short range. So Papali at, if I can find him again, something like 450, I think. Yeah, Papali at 450, Kyle Felt at 225. I am going to go cheekily, because I think the Raiders' attack is going to flourish here. The Raiders at 13 plus at 240 as well.
then we will move on to the next one. It is the Seagulls versus the Panthers, and this is the big toughie of the week for me. It's the Seagulls are so hard to tip against because every time you think that they've not got the quality, or that you think they maybe don't have that clinical edge, they make you eat your own words. They're such a hard team to call against, and you saw it last week. Cade Cuss had a phenomenal game. Adding Fanua-Blake, ever reliable in the forward pack, just absolutely tore up the middle. I mean, the only change the Seagulls made this week is Waddell coming in for Gosiewski. I thought Gosiewski played really well. So I think this one's probably a knock, to be honest. The Panthers, unchanged from the side that played last week, eked out that win against the Titans. Even so, the fact that they were run so close by the Titans does put an air of doubt in my mind. So I would be tempted to back the Seagulls on the plus against the Panthers. But I think the Panthers will probably have been read the riot act over the course of the week, because they won't have been happy with their performance at all. But it's a tough one to pick, is this? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, my immediate thought, and obviously the StreamYard platform that we use doesn't allow for us to add the reserves because of a character limit. But I will note that Dylan Walker is named in the 19 for Manly, which could see Cade Cuss shift out of the squad. Lockie Croker in the 14, I think, is too versatile to not have him there. And Api Coruscant is named in the 18 for the Panthers, looking to make a miraculous recovery from an elbow injury. It was suggested that he could be out for a month, but may only miss the week. Look, despite, I think, the potential of a Manly upset at Brookvale, I am going the Panthers. I have a question mark next to the Panthers. It was the only game that I had sort of second-guessed myself. Aikens, you can tell that he's great under the high ball. He'll churn meters out, but he's not that ball-playing fullback that Dylan Edwards is. It's not the fullback that they used to have with Matt Moylan before Edwards kind of kicked him out of his spot there. Cleary was MIA in that first half. He somewhat showed up when they needed him, but he didn't have his best game. A lot of it was Jerome Luai running around trying to create something out of nothing. Their forwards were fantastic. The Source got over for a cheeky try. Look, I think the Panthers class will come out with this one. They get Viliami Kikau back. It does push Tyrone May to the 14 and Burden out. I don't think we saw Burden last week, now that I think about it. I don't remember seeing him on the field. It also puts Isaiah Yeo back into the 13, where I think he does some of his best work. I'll let you go through your bets, mate. I honestly don't have a lot of confidence in throwing money on this one. I will say, though, for you, the line is 4.5.
Right, okay. Well, that kind of ties into where I'm thinking right now, because last two meetings between these two, Panthers take a 15-12 win and a 28-24 win back in 2018. So this one has close game written all over it. You go down to the stats. Points scored for the Seagulls, 179. Points scored for the Panthers, 262. Seagulls conceded 193. Panthers conceded 158. It's going to be tight. It's going to be incredibly tight. Whether it's high scoring and tight or low scoring and tight is what I'm struggling to really get to grips with right now. So I'm going to say you take either team 1-12. You go Panthers 1-12. Or if you are looking at the Seagulls, don't take them at the line, take them on a plus 12.5 just to cover you on those two converted tries. It's going to be tight. I do think that the Panthers could potentially open out a bit of a margin towards the end of the game. You've seen that the Panthers do have a habit of randomly just showing up in the last 15 minutes, which it does leave that air of doubt in my mind. But I think Panthers 1-12 or Sea Eagles on a plus 12.5 on the handicap.
Yeah, look, there's no real confident bet for me. I'm not going to lie. So I would recommend for those taking the punt to go with Matthew's tips. I have to point out, as I go through the Panthers' last 5 games, Brent Naden has scored, I believe, in 3 or 4 of the last 5. He has also been the first try scorer twice. So there could be some cheeky value for Naden, first try scorer, at $14. I always err away from first try scorers, but at that value, that is going to be my value bet for the week. Naden at 14. I do like your Panthers 1-12. I think that they will put up a little bit of a lead, but it's not going to be too bad. It's a tough one. It absolutely is a tough one. I'm going to go either team by 8 or less at $2 as my other bet. I'm not going to offer much else. Obviously, if I say Naden first try scorer, I'm going to suggest him at any time at $2.88. But the money tips on this one, I don't have a lot of confidence in. The only thing that I do want to point out, Tafua has a habit, not much to the likes of Mike Castillo, of charging into the line. We've seen that in the last couple of weeks. If he does that, Watene Zelezniak has some quick acceleration, not necessarily a great top speed, but very quick off the mark. Watene Zelezniak could be a shout for the Panthers as well. But I will stick with Naden and value first try scorer at 14, anytime at $2.88. Either team 8 or less at $2.
Okay, then. With that, we will move on to the next one. It is the Bulldogs versus the Eels. The Bulldogs were last week's surprise package. They got up over the Knights in horrible conditions. I mean, who'd want to be a player in that kind of weather? It was not pleasant viewing or pleasant experience on any part. But the Dogs do welcome Tim Laffey. He comes into the centres. Cogger goes to the bench for Wakeham. I mean, the Dogs coming up against an Eels side. That only 2 changes for them, and that is Evans and Kafusi coming into the bench. Takarangi and Utoka Manu both dropping out of the side. I mean, the depth there to swap out 2 very good forwards, one forward and utility for another 2 very good forwards. It's pretty bleak for the Bulldogs because, I mean, you look at their starting pack and you think, you know what, it could be close because there's a lot of physicality in both packs. Then you go to the bench. I mean, Davy's shown how versatile he is. He's got a great offload on him, creates a lot of second phase play, which the Eels love to go off. Near Corey, just a tough ball runner. Evans, again, loves to get the arm free. Kafusi, just another tough forward to come up against. It's pretty bleak for the Bulldogs, to be honest.
Mate, anyone would have thought that I've converted you into a Parramatta fan with how you're hyping them up. I tell you what, matchup of the round, Lukey Thompson v Nathan Brown. Get some of that into me. Oh, it makes the mouth salivate. One of them are going to be on report at the end of the week. I'll promise you that. If anyone offers a betting market on that, I'll put 100 on it. Yeah, look, it is. The Dogs always show up for Parramatta. There's no 2 wits about it. We saw at the start of the season, the Dogs were expected to get thumped. They only lost 8-2. They upset them last year, 12-6, towards the back end of the season. It's always a tough one to pick, surprisingly, despite what it may look like. I an immediate one that stands out for me in terms of a matchup, Michael Jennings against Jake Averillo, if the numbers do line up as predicted. Averillo's been fantastic in defence, but has that tendency to come up. He's not a natural centre. He comes up, he jams in. 8 times out of 10, it works. But there's those couple of times where he leaves his winger floating away, and you can't have Micah Sevo going one-on-one against Marcelo Montoya, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Micah who just rolls over the top. In terms of betting odds, I can't recommend Micah as an anytime try scorer at $1.12. It's too short. I am going to go against my initial thought of giving a couple of cheeky ones. And say for value, I'm going to go with Mitch Moses at $3.75 as a cheeky shout. I think he'll go back-to-back this week. It's going to be one of the 2 Parramatta halves that score. Because I've tipped Moses, it's probably going to be Brown. But it's always how it works. It's the same with the Dogs. If I choose the one, if I go the hot wings, the 7 wins it. If I go the 8, the 1 wins it. So, yeah, I can't seemingly pick one there. But Moses, I think, is going to be in a good bit of form. Comes up against a dog side that tends to allow halves to get through. I also want to harp on the fact that in the last 5 games, the second half between these two has been the best half. So as I try and look at the market for there, if I can find it, I can't find it right now, but when I get that, I'll have the odds there. But Mitch Moses at $3.75 and the second half as the highest scoring half is what I'm going with.
So you've stolen my second half tip. You've done it again. You did it to me last week with the Storm, but I'm gonna go the same thing, but I'm gonna go Ferguson as the anytime try scorer. I just think that after last week, he'll be desperate for one, being denied so close. I can see him getting over. I mean, he lines up against Tennis Lesniak, who has a new centre pairing. You've seen a lot of the times when you get a new wing centre pairing, there's not been that time to adjust to each other. One will shoot the line, the other has to come with, and I think it just creates enough space outside for Blake to get an arm free and put Ferguson over into the corner. Or alternatively, just a nice little cut-out ball for Ferguson to get over into the corner as they jam inwards. But yeah, this one's going to be a second half high scoring Ferguson anytime for me. It seems it's on. We'll move on to the next one. And we are into the last game, and it is the Storm versus the Knights. And it's going to be a tough one. The Knights will be bitterly disappointed by last week. I expect them to come firing up. But the Storm, just their everly consistent self, they're coming into a good vein of form yet again. They have made a couple of changes. They all are enforced changes. So Vunivalu takes his spot back up on the wing for this week. Seve comes in for Brenko Lee as he's out for a few weeks, as well as them losing Moborovsky for potentially the next 3 months. Asafa Solomona comes in at 8. Brandon Smith goes back to the bench in the 14 jersey. Vete in a 16. Eisenhuth at 17. Fasamaloe on the bench in the 15 shirt. It's going to be a tough ask for the Knights. I mean, they make a lot of changes to their bench in particular. I mean, so you start with Randall in at the 9 shirt, for McCulloch, who is gone for the season, as well as Connor Watson. Phoenix Crossland comes into the 14 shirt, King into the 15, and then it's Salo and SASA to make up the remainder of the bench. It's going to be a tough ask for the Knights here.
Tough ask for the Knights. They've lost first, second, and third string hookers in Brayley McCulloch and Connor Watson. All 3 of those out for the year. So Chris Randall, who made 65 tackles or something like that. His first game comes in for game number 2. Interesting that they have Crossland on the bench instead of someone like Mason Lenor or Tex Hoy both of who, if they really had to, could play hooker. Lenor more than Hoy. Crossland more of a half than anything else. As for the Storm, as you mentioned, Movorovsky probably gone until the third week of finals if the Storm make it that far, with Tommy Eisenhuth coming back onto the bench. Marion Seve goes in for Brenko Lee. So like-for-like replacements, as much as it can be with Movorovsky and Eisenhuth. But, yeah, you just... The Knights played like crap last week. They played like absolute dog crap and ruined everyone else's multis if they somehow got Warriors with a first half or Roosters 1-12 or anything like that. All of my anytime try scorers from last week with the Storm and the Knights didn't get up. The Knights, it didn't help that there was sloppy weather. The Storm, who did I go with? Oh, the Storm I went for minus 29.5 in the second half of $5. So if anyone got on that, you're welcome. That was a superb bet. The 29.5 at 345. That got eaten up. But I can't quite go that sort of line this week. The line currently is set at 12.5. It's not bad. That's not a bad line. I might have a cheeky flirt with that, but it's not going to be one that I personally will recommend. I'm going to go straight to the anytime try scorer markets and go for Jerome Hughes at $4 for one of mine. Again, I honestly don't have any reasoning behind this Jerome Hughes one. The name, for whatever reason, just sticks out. And I'm using the same logic right now as I do with the horses. The horses, if a name sticks out, I bet on it. It typically wins. If I second guess myself, the horse wins and I don't get paid for it because I choose some other nutty horse that comes last. So I'm going Jerome Hughes purely because the name is standing out and my gut is churning. Hughes at $4. I don't think that the Knights are going to score any more than about 16 points. So so for those who have sports bet, the total points market, the Knights alternative points, as I go to the under 16.5 is $1.46. So I'm going to recommend that one. I mean, if you really want to go both teams to score 10 and $1.39, you can. But they're the two that I will suggest.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go through the previous meetings, the last two, Storm 26-12 win earlier back in June, and then the Storm 34-4. So I mean, you got a total of 38 points both times there. So could be an omen. 38 points exactly. I don't know. But yeah, I'd say points under 40. So keep it at minus 39.5. Melbourne by 6+ for me. It just seems like easy money there. I do worry that because the Knights had a bad week last week, they're probably going to be coming in a little bit more hot and heavy than they usually would. So I'm going to be cautious with that market there and with that line. So yeah, I'm going to go under 39.5 points as well as Storm by 6+.
I pose this question to you before I ask you for your best bet of the week. Would you rather go under 40? The current line is set at 41. Sorry, the current total is set at 41.5. Are you convinced with the 40 or the 39.5, or do you take that extra 2 points for $1.90?
I take the extra 2. I back myself.
All right. Under 41, under 42 is $1.91. Storm, the try bet, minus 6.5, $1.51. Your best bet of the week, sir?
Cottridge and Raiders over 20.5 at 155. Raiders
All right.
21.65. Yeah, that one. I'm gonna back that.
Kotrick and race to 20 at $1.65. All right. For my best bet of the week, as proof that these are all written down, they are tabbed and accumulated. As I look at this, yeah, it's I've gone a bit of value here, so I can't offer too much, I don't think. No. I'm going to go with my Thursday night bet. Raiders 1-12 at $3 is what I'm going for. In terms of a multi, I'm going to offer a 3-leg multi of anytime try scorers. The Rav 4 at 220. Ryan Hall at $1.62. Brent Naden at 288. I don't know what that comes to, so if you bear with me for 2 seconds, as you can tell, we are a incredibly professional podcast page. So while I figure this one out, Matthew, where can they find us for CKM Red Rugby League?
You can find us on absolutely everything except TikTok. We don't do that TikTok stuff here. So we are on Facebook, CKM Red RL. We are on YouTube, CKM Red Rugby League. We are on Twitter as well as Instagram. So check us out on all of those. I think our Twitter is Red CKM as well as Red CKM on Instagram.
All right, beautiful. Rav 4. Ryan Hall, Brent Naden, throw them in. Anytime try scorers comes out at 10.26. You can power play it on Sportsbet till 11.63. That's my multi. Best bet, Bunnies 1-12 at 3.75. Our tips for the week, Matthew and I both go on the same. Bunnies, Tigers, Sharks, Roosters, Raiders, Panthers, Eels, and the Storm. And Matthew, I think that does it, mate.
That does. Thank you once more for joining us. We hope you're enjoying the content. Head to our Facebook, leave a like, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And just let us know whether you're enjoying it. Let us know if we've picked you any winners. And as ever, gamble responsibly. And we'll see you next week for another round preview. See you then.